Hello everyone and welcome back to another Decksploration, the show where I don't know what a deck does, and so we're going to learn together and build a deck and then, go from there. This time we are doing Predaplants, which is an archetype that I've seen around due to the nature of some of the broken things they can do, but I've never really looked at it as an archetype as a whole. Everyone's probably seen Starving Venom Fusion around, everyone knows what Verte Anaconda does, but as an actual deck in and of itself, I'm pretty lost. I know they have something going on with predator counters, and they're like, are they all plants? Yeah, they're all... Really? I thought they were... How is this not an insect? I thought they were all plants and insects. That's really weird that they're all plants, but that's cool, because I like plant decks, so... We'll just jump right in because this is going to be a long one because there's a lot of members of Predaplants. So we're just going to start with the old stuff. I'm probably going to gloss over most of this just because I doubt we're going to use most of the old stuff. So Nepenthes gains attack for each predator counter, and if it destroys something in battle, you can equip it to this card. Okay, that's fine. And then you can gain life. Yeah, this guy's never going to see play. He's out. Squid Drosera. Send this from hand to grave, target a monster. This turn it can attack everything with a predator counter. If it leaves the field, place a predator counter on each special summon monster your opponent controls and modulate their levels to 1. See, this one might actually see play because it just says if this face-up card leaves the field, put a predator counter on everything. So, for example, if normal summon this, fuse it off, or link it off, or something like that, to trigger that effect is important, then maybe this is important, so we'll leave it in for now. What about Flytrap? Put a Predator counter on something. It seems like the Predator counters by default just make things level 1. I don't know how important that is, but it does, like, kind of floodgate the opponent, I guess, when we get to ones that are quick effects. At the start of the damage step, if this battles something with an equal or lower level... Okay, I guess that was the original idea. Lower their level to 1, attack them, you automatically destroy them. But Flytrap's never going to see use nowadays. Terrapenthes, if it deals battle damage, you can put a counter on something, target something with a lower level than it, take control. Yeah, level 2 or less. Yeah, that's not going to see play nowadays. Spina Danea. If this is... Okay, we've got something that does something on normal or special summon. Maybe this is the start of the good cards. If this card is normal or special summon, you can target something, place a Predap counter on it, and if it is 2 or higher, it becomes level 1. After damage calc, if this card battles something with an equal or lower level, special summon a Predaplant from deck. That was good enough in, like, 2015. I'm sure this card went crazy. But nowadays, giving up your battle phase and hoping that the opponent... Well, I mean, you're not really hoping because you can make it level 1. The problem is just if the opponent is on, like, Link monsters, this has no protection, you have to be going second. I'll throw that down here, but I don't think it's very good. It's probably not going to see play. Saraceniant? I don't know, I'm not a botanist, man. When an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, you can special summon this from hand after damage calculation. If it battles something, destroy that. If this card is destroyed by battle or sent to the graveyard by card effect... Oh, card on the field is sent by card effect. Gross. You can add a Predap card. Again, this card probably went hard in 2016, but nowadays, nah. If this said, if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, I think it would still see play. But it has to be on the field already. So unless we're e-telling everything like our lives depend on it, I don't think that card's very good. Chlamydo Sundew. Monsters with a predator counter that uses fusion materials are treated as dark. This one I know I have heard this guy sees play for some reason. During the main phase, you can fusion summon a dark fusion using this, and monsters from hand, field, or opponent's monsters with a... Okay, so this is the big payoff for the predator counters, I'm going to guess. So if we, for example, like, link off Drosera, we put a counter on everything, then we can use Chlamydo Sundew to, like, super poly away their board, presumably? So I'm going to assume that one sees play. Look at Drosophilum Hydra. You can special summon this from hand or grave. That's pretty good by tributing one monster on either field with a predator counter. Okay. That's kind of like Wosu, the Mitsurugi. I like that already. If this card is on the field or in your graveyard, quick effect, banish something, make something lose attack. Okay, I don't like that as much, but we'll leave it for the summoning condition. Maybe that's important. Cordyceps. That's kind of, this one's neat because it, yeah, is very clearly, I don't know, it's not very fungal, but it has like grown out of an animal clearly somehow. During standby phase, you can banish this from graveyard, target 2 Predaps in graveyard, summon them, but you can only special fusion monsters. And it's your standby? Yeah, no, that card sucks. Unfortunate. Offris Scorpio, I guess. If this card is normal or special summon, you can send a monster from hand to grave to special summon a Predaplant from your deck. Okay, so there's an E-Telly. So we can go Offris Scorpio, send anything, summon out Chlamydia Sundew. That gives us a fusion summon into a 2-material monster on its own. That's pretty good. We'll move this up here because I think it's the most important. Then you. Offris is probably a 3 of, but we'll see as we go. Then we've got Darlingtonia Cobra. If this monster is, or if this card is special summoned by the effect of a Predaplant monster, you can add a polymerization or fusion. Okay, that sounds familiar, wasn't it? You like use Scorpio to search and summon the Cobra to search any fusion. That was a thing you did. I mean, regardless, that's probably good. I'm gonna assume we have Predaprime fusion already. Well, maybe we only have the one, but that can search like super polymerization or apex poly as well is a new one that I'm not like super familiar with. So this is almost certainly at least a 1-of, but that is a Garnet, right? Because this only summons from deck. Yeah, I mean, maybe we have a way to like send it and then summon it back from the graveyard. We'll see as we go. Next up is Banksioker. This guy's always looked goofy to me every time I'm looking through plants. You can special summon this by tributing one opponent's monster with a predator counter. If this is sent from field to the graveyard, you can put a predator counter on everything the opponent controls. So that's just better than, well, I don't know. Drosophilum summons from grave? I guess we'll leave both for now. We'll see how it actually works out. Kind of weird. Kind of weird. Next up, oh god, Helium Phrenicus. Helium Phrenicus. If the opponent controls a monster with a predator counter, you can special summon this from hand. If this card is destroyed, you can target a card in the grave and special summon it. That, unless we have specifically a card that destroys one of our own cards for effect, I don't think that sees play. We'll leave it here for now in case that ends up being the case. Biblisp. Yeah, Biblisp. If this card is sent to the grave, that's what I'm talking about. If this card is sent to the graveyard, not from the field, you can add a Predaplant monster from your deck to your hand, except Biblisp itself. If a monster with a predator counter is on the field, you can special summon this card from your graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. Okay, so taking just like a little bit of a detour, I put Dracaena down here because while I have been most excited for using her in Rose Dragons, people have mentioned that she's also a Predaplant card, and maybe even more so a Predaplant card, so I figured I'd include her. I know what she does, but for the class at home, I will read her. You can send one level 4 or lower plant monster from your deck to the graveyard, except herself, special summon her from hand, and if you do, it becomes the level of the sent monster, and you can banish one plant and this card from your grave to summon a dragon from grave or hand. And this does lock you into exclusively dragons and plants. So she's a circular, basically. You can send any plant to summon her out. That gives you an extra material. She copies a level. She's a tuner. Obviously, they knew that she was going to see some play in Rose Dragons because of that, but now I get why she also is considered a Predaplant card, because you can Foolish Biblisp. She just stays level 1 if you do so, but that adds a monster and gives you an extra thing on field, so it's good. Speaking of, has anything been a tuner yet? Yeah, Banksioker. Because I noticed that one of our new cards is a Synchro, which is kind of interesting because this is primarily a fusion deck that just had the one link, but the link was fusion support. So having having a synchro feels kind of weird, but I guess that's what Dracaena is for. Regardless, Biblisp feels very important, so I'll throw it up here. I think these first four are definitely part of the deck, and then these last four are on thin ice and will probably be taken out, barring anything major that needs those for a part of a combo. Then we are into the older pendulums. I'm thinking if I can, I might make a Genesis deck today just because I like Genesis more, but we'll go through all the pendulums anyways, and if that doesn't work, then I will build just like an advanced basic version of the deck. So, next up is going to be Spider Orchid. If in the Pendulum Zone, if this card was activated this turn, you can pop a face-up card in the Spell Trap Zone. We haven't seen anything we want to be doing that. We want to pop a monster specifically. Which one was it? The Heliamphorenicus or something? Yeah, but that doesn't do that. And then if this is on the actual field, during the end phase, if this card was normal or special summon, you can discard to add a plant from deck to hand. That doesn't do anything because we don't have so far I haven't seen like a Dracotail Phimena for the deck. I haven't seen something that you add off of this and then on the next turn you can just quick effect fuse with it. So I'm not sure how important that is. We'll keep it down here in the dregs with these guys for now. Triantis, if this is in your Pendulum Zone, if you fusion summon something, you can use your Pendulum Zones as fusion material. That's interesting. I mean, I like it. It's reminiscent of Melodious. You can do that. If this card is sent to the graveyard or added to the extra deck face up because it was used as fusion material, you can choose monsters on the field up to the number of monsters you control and put I don't know. The predator counters haven't seemed terribly important to me yet. Maybe it's the extra deck monsters that mostly do that. There's also Chlamydia Sundew that cares. But outside of that, they haven't seemed super important. I'm not sure how important using your pendulum zones is, because we have had stuff that like special summons. We can get to materials. Again, same thing, I'll leave it down here with the dregs. Bufolicula. Bufolicula. During your main phase, you can fusion summon a Dark Fusion. Okay, so this is a Poly in the Pendulum Zone. That's pretty solid. If this card is sent to the graveyard or added to extra deck face-up because it was used as material, you can add one face-up Dark Pendulum monster from extra deck to your hand. Interesting. So if you scale Bufolicula and Triantis, which is a 0 and an 8, so that's good scales already, then you can use Bufolicula. Yeah. You can use Bufolicula to use both of them as material, which puts the counters on everything and then triggers Bufolicula to add a guy back to hand. Can he add himself? Accept himself. And you don't really want to add Triantis. I guess you're adding Triantis because, like, what else are you doing? But that's a level 8. That's like not that great. But I see what we're doing here. I understand the idea. Use both of these as material, you get a material back. That's fine, and you can do that after you have done a pendulum summon, and it looks like their scales don't lock you or anything, which is pretty cool. Okay, so next up we're going to go through all of the old spells and then the traps. We're going to go through all the old stuff before we get to the new stuff, just so that we can better understand what the new stuff is actually doing for the deck, what holes it's filling, etc. So we're going to start off with Predapruning. It's, I guess it's archetypal premature burial, which isn't an awful place to be. We'll leave it in for now. Predaponics lets you, once per turn, special summon one from hand or grave but negate its effects. This card seems pretty garbage. I don't know, we'll throw it down there for now. Predaplants, reveal any number of Predap cards in your hand, then target that number of face-up monsters your opponent controls. Place a Predator counter on each one, and if you do, they all become level 1. And if your Predaplant monster would be destroyed by battle, you can banish this instead. Again, this seems like it would be important if the Predator counters felt more important. But as it is, again, the only payoff is the Chlamydia Sundew. And I mean, it can stay up here tentatively. We'll see. Next up is Predaprime Fusion. It's our only archetypal fusion? I mean, named fusion at least. We'll see. If a Predaplant monster is on the field, fusion summon a Dark Fusion from extra deck using monsters from either field as material, including 2 or more Dark monsters you control. So it's... Oh, and it's a quick play. Yeah, so this is just straight up archetypal Super Poly. The only issue is it doesn't protect itself like Super Poly does, but that's okay. We could play this alongside Super Poly, and then we can just, like, use away a bunch of stuff. The problem is I haven't seen quick effect ways to put counters on the opponent's cards. Maybe that's what the new support's going to do. But this does seem quite good if we can put Predator counters on the opponent's cards and then use them as material. Like, sure, cool, sounds good to me. Next up is Preda Practice. Special summon one from hand, then add a Predap card from deck to hand. Except itself, also for the rest of the turn, you cannot special summon from extra decks except fusions. This card reads pretty crazy. It is a Rhoda that, like, extends you as well. It, like, saves your normal summon. So that's pretty tight. And that's it for the spells so far. Obviously, we're probably throwing in, like, Polymerization, other fusion spells, Apex Poly, Super Poly, things like that. But as it stands, we don't have a whole ton of spells, but we got 2 new ones we'll get to. Starting with traps, we've got Predaplant, which is a continuous trap that if a monster with a Predator counter leaves the field while this is face up on the field, add a Predap card from deck to hand. Okay, so that's a payoff for Predator counters. That's pretty good. And then you can banish this from grave to fusion summon using monsters from hand or field. Okay, that's fine. Only Predaplants can be used as materials for this. So this one does not play into the super polying that it kind of seems like the deck wants to be doing, but just, I wonder if we have a way to place this face up on the field. That would be quite useful, and they've been doing that a lot lately. It's a searcher that if we put it in the grave is just poly. So that's fine. That's fine. Predaplanting is not continuous. This is just a normal trap. Send a Predaplant from deck to the graveyard, place a Predator counter on everything on the field, and they all become level 1. If you fusion summon a Dark while this card is in your graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target a card on the field to destroy it. This is everything, it feels like. It feels like Predaplanting is everything. Because this is quick effect, place Predator counters on your opponent's entire board, which then means that if we use the quick effect Predaprime Fusion, we can fuse with all of them. If we use the quick effect Super Poly, we can fuse with all of them. So I feel like this, all of a sudden, is the most important card in the deck. Just like, get to Predaplanting, activate it in the middle of the opponent's combo, then activate anyway to fuse with all of their stuff, and they cry. So that kind of helps bring the whole thing together a little bit more, even before the new stuff. And then we are on to the extra deck. So first up for the extra deck is Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. This one I already know, but I'll read it for everyone at home. If this card is fusion summoned, you can make this card gain attack equal to one opponent's special summon monster until the end of this turn. Once per turn, you can target one level 5 or higher monster the opponent controls. Until the end phase, this card's name becomes that card's name and replaces its effects with the targeted monster's effects. And then if this fusion summon card is destroyed, you can destroy all of your opponent's special summon monsters. Name replacement is very strong, but I think it was, like, this guy is banned because he can name replace stuff from your graveyard. This guy can only take the names of your opponent's monsters, so it's a lot more fair. But still, like, fuse into this, become giant. He's a time bomb because if the opponent destroys him, then they lose everything as well. It's, like, pretty solid for being just the oldest version, I think, of the Starving Venom cards. The fact that this guy holds up to this date is promising. Next up is... Oh, nope, that's just alt art. Never mind, don't worry about that. Starving Venom Predapower Fusion Dragon. This is a dark fusion... Oh, right, and I should read materials. That's important here. So this is 2 dark monsters. So Chlamydia Sundew being on field is kind of important then, because that turns everything into darks. Otherwise, we'll see if we have a fusion we can make that requires like more generic materials maybe. But Predapower is always treated as a Predaplant card. Once per turn, when a card or effect is activated, tribute a monster on either field with a Predator counter and negate the activation. If this card is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, not even destroyed, sent to the graveyard, you can target a dark in your grave and special summon it. This card is crazy reading, right? So, tribute your monster to omni-negate your effect? And then if sent to the grave, it can just like summon back the Starving Venom or something. That card's great. Holy crap. Next up is our last older fusion. As far as I know, I put everything from Predap and Starving Venom in here. There might be something I missed, but Odd Eyes Venom Dragon is the last one I could find of the older guys outside of Starving, who is banned. But if I'm making a deck for Genesis, maybe we'll play him. So Odd Eyes Venom Dragon says, if it's in the Pendulum Zone, you can target a fusion monster to give it a ton of attack. That's not terribly important. Normally, if something is a Pendulum extra deck monster type, either it has a way on the card itself to put itself in the Pendulum Zone, and then the Pendulum Zone is important, or they just tack something on because it's probably never going to actually be in the Pendulum Zone to get used. And it seems like it's the latter for this guy, probably. Must be fusion summoned, requires an Odd Eye and a Starving Venom. So we're not doing this in this deck. Whatever I'm building, we're not going to play the Odd Eyes to make this work, but we'll read it anyways. And can then be Pendulum summoned. Once per turn, target a monster. This gains a bunch of attack and takes its name and its effect. And if this card in the monster zone is destroyed, you can special summon a monster from Pendulum Zone and put this back in your Pendulum Zone. Okay. So yeah, that actually reads pretty strong, but I'm just not going to be dipping into Odd Eyes to make it work to do this, like, anime-relevant thing. I actually haven't gotten this far in the anime. I'm still in 5Ds. But I do know that, you know, these are Arc V things. And we'll briefly go over the two banned cards, I guess, since if I'm doing a Genesis build, we might use them. Well, not Anaconda, obviously. But Verte Anaconda got banned because it can just generically use any fusion or polymerization by paying 2,000 life and sending it from deck to grave. But that's the last special summon you can do for the turn, but people were just using this to make Dragoon easily, so, you know, like, it got banned and it'll probably stay there forever. And then Supreme King got banned because it can copy the name of monsters from the graveyard, which does degenerate things. But that's probably not as much of an issue there, and that's really all it does outside of piercing damage. It contributes. Oh no, we can't actually use this guy in Genesis because it requires 2 Dark Pendulums to summon. Why does this have a point on it? I guess just... No, because it must be fusion summoned, so there's no way to cheat. This isn't summonable in Genesis. I don't know, there's got to be something I'm missing. But it feels like this guy's unsummonable in Genesis, and it's banned in advance, so he's not going to see use. So then we can get on into the new stuff, and hopefully it's just going to give us a lot of ways to put Predator counters on stuff as a quick effect so we can actually use some of these effects, and maybe give us quick effect ways to use the Predator counters would be pretty cool. Starting with Lizard, if you control a Predaplant or a Starving Venom monster and this card is in your hand, you can special summon it, then add a Polymerization from deck to hand. So that searches Super Poly. I think that's how that wording works. Maybe it only gets specifically regular Poly. I'm not 100%. I'll test that before we do anything, but I think it can get Super Poly. You can target a face-up card on the field. It becomes dark until end of this turn, which is pretty good because that allows you to, like, even without Clematis Undo, you can then use the opponent's stuff as fusion material. That's fine. And if this card is special summoned from the graveyard, you can draw a card. That seems tacked on. Why do they tack on so much free card draw nowadays? It's annoying as hell just to, like, power creep the game intentionally like that. I don't know. I'm gonna do whatever. Onwards to Longinophilia. If this card... Oh, this is a tuner. Were they both... No, they're not both tuners. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add a Predap card from your deck to your hand except this card, and you can banish this from grave to activate one of these effects. Place a Predator counter on a face-up monster on the field, and if you do, it becomes level 1, or set a Poly from grave or banishment. Interesting. Yeah, now thinking about it, I think because it specifies polymerization, it has to be specifically polymerization. If it said one polymerization card, it would add super. So we are playing just OG poly in this deck to make this work. Um, so what are we doing? Normally, if you look at it, the older cards have like, or the new support tends to have just like a self-contained combo somewhere. So we could normal Longinophilia, add Lizard, summon the Lizard, add Poly, then we've got two Darks, and we could summon into presumably one of our new guys, and then we can banish this to either put a Predator counter if we want to take out the opponent's board, or set the poly that we already used for these guys. So that's something. That's like already kind of a combo. I don't know what the combo's doing yet because we haven't gotten to the fusion monster, but it does a thing. And then we're into our new spells, looking at Thorn Fangs of Violet Poison. This is always treated as a Predap card, which is why it's in here. Target a Starving Venom Fusion Dragon you control. It cannot attack for the rest of the turn. Destroy as many monsters your opponent controls as possible with less attack than it. Then you can discard your entire hand and inflict damage to your opponent equal to the combined original attack of those destroyed monsters. So the idea here being that you're summoning the OG gains the attack of the opponent's highest attack monsters, making it the biggest thing on the field. Then you can go Thorn Fangs, target it to pop their entire board, but that discards your hand and maybe just kills the opponent. So that's just like a one card lethal burn thing. Uh, I mean, maybe it's a core part of the combo, so we'll leave one in here, but that's... I guess it's not that Disneyland. It's kind of Disneyland, though, right? Hopefully the next one's more generically useful. Predaprimitive. Send a Predap card from your deck to your grave, except Predaprimitive. Add a Poly or Fusion from deck to your hand, but you can't special summon for the rest of the turn except plants or dragons. If a monster is special summoned to the opponent's field, you can banish this card from your grave, target a fusion monster you control, destroy it? So there's something going on with the new fusions and being destroyed that gives you value. Not sure. Oh no, the idea, it's the old one. Yeah, if this card is destroyed, it doesn't have to be by an opponent's card or effect. Destroy all of your opponent's special summon monsters. Okay, so it's just if the opponent summons something, you can pop your guy, presuming that you've already used him and like done his whatever he's used for. Blow up the opponent's board, and then that's just a side effect of being able to foolish something to add a poly or fusion. So that one, God, okay. We have to finish up the extra deck before I can make judgment calls, because the fusions just seem so important here, and I'm curious what the heck's going on with Baltea. So Starving Venom Fusion Dragon of the 4 Heavenly Dragons. This is a Predaplant card, 2 dark monsters on the field specifically, so you can't use materials from hand. Interesting. If this is special summon, you can target one other face-up monster on the field. It changes its attack to 0, negate its effects, and it becomes dark, so you can use it as fusion material. Cool. When your opponent activates a card or effect, you can fusion summon a dark fusion using dark monsters on either field. Oh wow, this card's incredible, huh? So you quick fuse into this on the opponent's turn, negate something, make it dark, then if they activate a card or effect, you can use that material along with anything else you have made dark to fusion summon into, you know, even just like Starving Venom would be perfectly okay. Cool, like that's a really good self-contained card. Next up is Predaplant Daredevil. Takes a Predaplant and a level 1 monster, you know, the idea being that that is anything you've put a Predator counter on. Must be fusion summoned or special summoned by tributing one monster on either field with a Predator counter and one Predaplant monster. So you can use the materials from field without actual fusion, which seems kind of silly considering how much we search poly and fusion and all that sort of stuff, but it makes sense. So this is just another kaiju effect that we get access to. Then during the main phase, if this card was special summoned this turn, you can target spell traps on the field up to the number of monsters with Predator counter, destroy them. So this card is hard to evaluate. This is a going second card. a lot of this deck seems pretty going second focused, but it also does have cards like For Heavenly Starving Venom, which seems like a going first card, and the fact that we can Super Poly and set the Predaplant Prime Fusion. So this does seem like a deck that can go first or second, which is cool. I like decks that do that. This guy does not seem terribly important to going first, but seems quite good going second because it just lets you pop the opponent's back row. It's in archetype Kaiju. The problem with Kaijuing something with a counter on it is that you can't put counters on towers, because say the opponent has a Liger Dancer. The Liger Dancer is unaffected by any effect that would put a counter on her, so you can't Kaiju it. So it's not like as good as it sounds at first read. You could have gotten rid of those cards by other ways, but yeah, it's still good. Like, if something says can't be targeted or can't be destroyed, this does allow you to get around it, just not unaffected. Then we've got our last Pendulum, which is Starving Venom, Wing Dragon. Each time a monster is special summoned to your opponent's field, place a Predator counter on it, and if it's level 2 or high. Okay, so that's cool. Like, you want this in the Pendulum Zone when you pass the turn, because that just gives Predator counters to everything and makes your life a lot easier. You summon it with a fusion monster and a clear wing. Interesting. Once per turn, if the opponent special summons a monster, you can target one of them. This gains attack equal to its attack and negate it, so same thing as the OG Starving Venom. These changes last until the end of this turn. Once per turn, when an opponent or when a card or effect is activated on the field, you can destroy a card on the field. So you could destroy it to put it in the Pendulum Zone, which gives you a Pendulum 10, which is pretty good. It's fine. Like, it's a good card, I think. It just makes Predator counters easy, gives you multiple disruptions. It's not bad. And then for our very last new card, we've got Baltea, our 1 Synchro. Oh, this is a 4, so that means you can make it off Lilizard and Lungophilia, so I guess that combo's a little bit more involved than I was thinking it was. But what do we actually do? For starters, it's a tuner, so you could make something else with this, which is kind of interesting. But if this card is Synchro Summon, you can special summon a Predaplant or Starving Venom from your extra deck or graveyard. If a monster is special summoned to your opponent's field, you can banish a Poly and this card from your graveyard to fusion summon. Okay. So the idea being normal summon Lungophilia, which adds Lilizard. You can special summon Lilizard, get a Poly, then synchro these two off into Baltea. Baltea summons out the Lilizard again, which draws you a card. I guess that's why that's there. Then you can synchro these two into a Clear Wing, presumably, for the Starving Venom Wing Dragon, because that's a level 4 tuner and a level 3 non-tuner. I don't know. I'm going to have to go see this one in motion. So it turns out I am purple blind, because I was looking for just like a way to make the one card work, and it turns out I missed 3 of the fusions for Predaplant, so let's go over those real quick. And then from there, I'm pretty sure I've got the combo figured out. So first up is Greedy Venom Fusion Dragon, must be fusion summoned. It takes a high level Dark and a Predaplant, and then once per turn, you can target a face-up monster on the field until end of this turn, change that target's attack to 0. Also, it gets negated. If this card is destroyed and sent to the grave, you can destroy everything on the field, then banish a guy from grave and special summon this back, and that is not a once per turn, so it just comes back repeatedly. So that's a really good card, and one I probably shouldn't have missed. Yeah, so it's a spell speed 1 negate that gives us bonus value from, where was it? This guy. This one lets you destroy your own fusion monsters basically whenever you want to, so destroying this lets you banish something, probably a different fusion. You're probably making it off of Starving Venom, right? Yeah, it's probably like Starving Venom plus a Predaplant. So you're making this with Starving Venom, then you can banish the Starving Venom, bring this back, yeah, and like destroy the entire field. That's pretty good. Then we've got Ambula Melodies. We'll do that next. This one's just any 2 Predaplants, so you're not super polying into this, presumably. If this card is fusion summon, you can add a Predaplant monster or Predap Spell Trap. from deck, grave, or face-up extra. Well, that makes everything easier, huh? This is the exact card I was looking for, was just a Predaplant Searcher out of the extra deck, just give you something to fuse into. And yeah, it's here. And you can target one monster your opponent controls with a Predator counter, or one monster you control, tribute it, and special summon a Predaplant from deck. Oh my god, the deck got so much better as soon as I found this card. Yeah, y'all were probably pulling your hair out when you didn't see him in the list, but that's, whatever, we won't mess with it. That's gonna make the whole thing a lot easier now, isn't it? And then we've got Trifioverutum, as sure. 3 dark monsters on field gain attack equal to the total original attack of all other monsters on the field with a Predator counter, so he gets a big. And then you can use each of these once per turn. When your opponent special summons a monster, you can negate the summon and destroy. Has to be extra deck summon, but that's a-okay. That's still a very strong effect. If your opponent controls a monster with a Predator counter, you can special summon this from graveyard and defend. Wow. Y'all, Predaplants has some really good cards, huh? Okay, so then I also threw in a couple of the extra polymerizations here because I was thinking that we might need Apex Poly to actually do the combo that I was thinking of. And I think it should work now that we've got these guys in here. So let's go see that. Okay, after a lot of time and effort and searching, I think I've figured out a 1-card combo off the Longinophilia, something resembling it at least. So we're going to normal summon it, go search Predaprimitive, then we can activate the Predaprimitive. We get to Foolish Biblisp and add specifically Ultra Polymerization. Biblisp is going to trigger to go get us the Lizard. We can summon out the Lizard and use its effect to go get Original Polymerization. And then we can Synchro Summon into Baltea. Baltea's gonna let us summon back the Lizard, and in an actual game you would draw a free card here. I'm not gonna do it just to not taint the combo, and then we have to go Ultra Poly with these 2 materials into Ambulo Melodies. Ambulo Melodies goes over here, he's gonna search us a Predaplant card, and here in an actual game I'm pretty sure the best pick in almost every situation is gonna be Predapractice. But here, because we can't put a monster into hand, there's just like no other way to get one. We're instead going to grab Predapruning, and then we're going to activate Ultra Poly in the graveyard. Ultra Poly is such an insane card, just very few decks are able to use it. Brings back both materials, and then we can use both of the materials to make the Clearwing Synchro Dragon. Go into our graveyard, use Longinophilia to put a Predator counter on it, which allows us to bring back the Biblisp. And then we can go Poly to fuse into Starving Venom Wing Dragon with the Crystal or the Clearwing and our Ambulo Melodies. So now that is online. Unfortunately, it's not like a negate or anything, so we can't protect our combo still, but it can at least put itself in the back row and put Predator counters on everything, and it's a negate when the opponent special summons a monster. So like it's a good end board piece for sure. Then we can go Predapruning to bring back the Ambulo Melodies, and then use its effect tribute Baltea to summon out a different guy. We can go Darling Tonia Cobra effect to add. We could add, what was it? Apex Poly. Oh wait, it is Apex Poly, because that allows us to get to Predapower Fusion. Okay, that's great. So we'll add the Apex, go Apex, target Ambulo Melodies, summon out Trifioverutum, and then Fusion Summon using both into Predapower, which is like far and away our best end board piece, I think. Okay, so this looks like it's about the end board then. We're out of extension, things like that. But this is not too bad. This is a monster negate that can then put itself in the back row after doing the monster negate to put counters on everything to fuck with their levels. And Predapower is a tribute their monster to negate and destroy. And if it's sent to the grave, we can summon back a dark monster from grave. which could be like the Ambulo Melodies, or I don't know. What is it? 8 or lower? Oh, any dark. So if Wing Dragon somehow ends up in the grave, we could summon that back. It's not perfect, but it's like, it's okay. It's not awful. This guy has to be Synchro Summon. Oh, right. And then we have Baltea online as well. Using monster from hand or field, and since we have the Darlingtonia Cobra, we could summon... I don't know, like, if we use... I'm not sure what all we're fusing with there. It, I guess, depends on what the opponent's field looks like, but we have Baltea set up. That can probably, I'm sure, at least get us to Starving Venom. Actually, it probably just gets us to Starving Venom Fusion Dragon of the 4 Heavenlies. And then 4 Heavenlies is a negate that can also fuse again. So this is like 4 disruptions off of 1 card. That's pretty good. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and go actually build a deck, and we'll meet back here in a second. Alright, so after much fiddling and cavorting and tuning, I've figured out what I'm considering build number 1, draft number 1 of Genesis Predaplants. Obviously, we can't do the whole crystal or the clear wing thing because we can't play pendulums in this format. But instead, what we're making is Bramble Rose Dragon, which is a pretty solid boss in and of their own right, because it just burns the opponent, drops their monster's attacks, and then if we just need to hit the Fuse Breaker, we can tribute it to summon out Black Rose to blow up the board. We don't want to do that if we can help it, but we can. And then even more importantly than any of that, Bramble Rose can banish from graveyard to summon back a plant tuner, so we can summon back Longinophilia on following turns. Or if we wanted to, we could even do it on the same turn for some reason. This allows us with tuners to make Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon with either an extra Longinophilia we come into or the Dracaena herself. Either of those plus the Bramble Rose makes a Crystal Wing, which is pretty solid. And Dracaena is actually a 1-card starter in and of her own right. It's just a weird line we have to do, and we have to have another monster in hand, which is one of the reasons I'm playing a number of hand traps. Fulos is good. I don't think DD Crow is particularly good, and it should probably be something else, but it's dark, which means it fulfills a lot of our fusion requirements. So alongside being something to pitch for the Dracaena line, or just anything that goes through Offris Scorpio, if you normal summon him, you have to have a monster in hand. Or special summon, we have to go through him for the Dracaena line, as far as I can tell, which is why we need to play some extra monsters. So he just like fulfills that condition. He's a dark for fusions, and then maybe once in a while against specific decks he's actually useful. Outside of that, we've got 15 starters. We've got the Longinophilias, we've got Offris, no, it wasn't 15. Yeah, it's 15-ish. Closer to 12, I guess. Longinophilia is a 1 card, Offris is a 1 card as long as you have a monster in hand, the Dracaena is a 1 card as long as you have a monster in hand, Predaprimitive is a 1 card, Predapractice can be, if you have a nut, like one of our bricks in hand, it can turn into a starter. The Lizard is not, but it's a good extender. The Dracaena is better as an extender than as a starter, so we're playing each of those at 3. Same thing with like Predapractice. Basically, we really want to start like Longinophilia or Offris, and then everything else just becomes a crazy good extender at that point. But if we need to cobble something together with just Predaprimitive or Dracaena, we can do it. I'm not sure you're supposed to be playing this, like all of these one-ofs. Predapruning was useful for particular 1-card combos where we don't have anything else in hand. Maybe you should just count on having a monster and you shouldn't be playing this. I'm not sure. Thornfangs is a meme. I like a meme and I think it sounds funny. And it's actually not that bad because the only cost is targeting. You don't have to discard your hand for cost, which means you can activate this just by targeting a guy and say to the opponent, you have an out right now, and in which case this is just like I lose this 1 card, or I just kill you on the spot. So it's not like awful. You're not discarding your hand for cost, in which case the card would be unplayable. As it is, I think it's okay just as a pressure tool to say, I don't think you have any interaction left and I'm just gonna kill you. The only reason I'm playing a Predaprime is because it is searchable off of like Longinophilia and Ambulum Melodies, whereas none of the rest of our fusions are, but I think it is the worst of them, but it's also, you know, it's a quick play, it's not too bad. We can still definitely use it like a Super Poly, even if it's a worse Super Poly. Then for most of the lines, we need the Ultra Poly and the Apex Poly. I'm not sure Predaplanting is terribly, terribly important, but I wanted to keep one trap just for like better back row assemblage. And this was definitely the better of the two. We are paying for all of the Super Polys because very little in this deck is hit. Like, I'm playing Garura and Mudragon because we're playing Super Poly anyways. That's 4 points. The Bramble's 1. But outside of those, we can just spend everything on non-engine, and Super Poly is obviously very good and very searchable in this deck. And I'm playing 2 Thrusts because Thrust searches so many good cards in this deck. It searches Predaprimitive, it searches Predapractice, it searches regular Poly, it searches Thorn Fangs if you're going for that. It searches either of the other Polys. And I'm playing 1 Heavy Storm and 1 Dark Hole because it can also search those if that's what we need, so, you know, seems pretty good. Like, maybe, we have 6 points left. I was debating maybe I play the second Heavy Storm and just run 41, because I don't want to cut anything else until we at least actually practice the deck and see how it performs and see what we need. Maybe we need second copies of Darlingtonia or Biblisp. Just because these guys, in certain situations, can be like actual garnets, so maybe we need 2 copies, and it's not that bad to just have stuff to send anyways. We'll see as we go. But yeah, draft 1, let's go jump in against Orcuspot, so we actually face up against some competition and see how it goes. Okay, so very first attempt at the very first game, obviously we're going second. The hand's not amazing. This is one of the reasons you probably shouldn't be on the the Fangs. Oh, but the opponent didn't have much of a hand anyway, so this is a good first attempt just to like see the combo with Predaprimitive. So we'll go Heavy Storm, take the only material off Dingirsu, then Heavy Storm again because it's not once per turn. We drew a second Predaprimitive for turn, which kind of really sucks. But that's okay. Thankfully they don't have an Ash, so we can pitch the Biblisp and add... God, I have not practiced the Predaprimitive line. But I'm gonna guess we use Ultra Poly first, though an argument could be made that since they have a Dark Monster on the field, we should be getting, like, Predaprime. What do we make with their Dark Monster normally? It's like they're Starving Venom, Trivotherium. Like, we can't make Embulo Melodies with their monster, so we couldn't combo super crazy far if we did that. So we'll get the Ultra and hope that Biblisp is good enough. Add the... I don't have a monster in hand. Maybe we need up the count of non-engine monsters for Offris Scorpio. But we'll add Longinophilia, and we can normal summon the Longinophilia and use its effect to add the Lizard. We can special summon out the Lilith. This summons from hand? No, this only summon... Oh, right, we have Biblisp engraved now. Yeah, cool. That makes sense. And then we can add regular Poly. Then we can go normal line into Baltea. Baltea effect to summon back the Lizard. Hopefully we draw something good. Okay, I mean, Super Poly's not a bad card. God, we have so many ways to fuse in hand right now. Then we can go Longinophilia, put a counter on the opponent's Dingirsu. It doesn't make it a Predaplant, though, so it's still not doing exactly what we want it to. So we'll go Ultra Poly like normal here. Make the Ambulo Melodies. Actually, we have Thorn Fangs isn't going to kill them. They only have like 1 monster with 26 on field. Go Ambulo Melodies to add a card. We don't have anything in hand. We do have the Predapruning already. I guess the search is like Predaprime? Because our hand is weird, they're probably going to survive this turn. So Predaprime seems kind of prudent. We'll summon back both of our materials. They are negated. That's not a big deal. We can fuse something into something else for some reason, which is pretty cool. We'll go Longinophilia on their Dingirsu here, mostly just so we can bring back the Biblisp. And then, what's our fusion here? We don't need to pop the back row, so we don't need to go into Daredevil. For a new card, he's kind of underwhelming. He's very, well, they have a Predator counter. I guess we could go into Daredevil. He's mostly just like a toolbox effect. Yeah, I guess Daredevil's not a bad call here, just to get the Dingirsu off the field. Or we could tribute it off Ambulum Melody. Yeah, just having something with a Predator counter on field helps out a lot with the combo lines. It's not a bad thing for sure. Sure, we'll Ambulum Melody's tribute Dingirsu. Special summon, can't do Offris. Has to be like Darling Tonia to gain any value here, or it could be Calamitous Sundew. We don't have Apex, so we'll go Darling Tonia. Grab the Apex. We might as well make Brambles, and I think at this point we're just like approaching lethal, so we might as well try and get to there. And then we'll do one where they don't brick, so that we face a little bit more resistance that time. We'll go Super Duper, target Ambulum Melodies, summon Triphioverudum. Summon out Predapower, which ensures that we now have lethal, or that we, should be able to get to lethal because we have a negate now. Go Predapruning, summon back Ambulum Melodies. Go just basic Poly here. And then we can make basically anything. We've got 6 on board, so we just need to make something with 2000 attack, and we have a negate. What do you actually do when an opponent's special summon? You know what, that's not a bad effect to have. Yeah, we'll go into Triphioverudum. And then we've got lethal on board, and if we need to, we can fuse through like Super Poly and Predaprime, because these are not main phase only. We can go to battle, swing for 7.5 million, fuse into more stuff in case they have a trick up their sleeve to save some damage. Cool. Okay, well, they got full combo. Our hand's really good. We've drawn nothing for turn. My biggest problem is I'm not a huge fan of like Predaplanting or Predaprime fusion so far. Just like, they're bricks we don't really want to see, but I don't see anything we could replace them with. Like, I wouldn't mind having more starters or extenders, but I think we're maxed out on those already. So, I'm not sure about that. But anyways, we can go Dracaena effect, send. I also wish there was just one more good plant to send for this deck, but in particular, Dracaena sends at cost. So there's precious few things you can actually send, so we're kind of stuck with Biblisp, even though we have multiple ways to Foolish Burial things. This is going to trigger, or this is going to search Longinophilia, because we already have the Lizard. We haven't done anything. We can go Thrust here, I suppose. The back row is always, what is it, the Phantom Knights trap. So let's go Thrust and see what it gets us in this situation. So Practice is really, really good. Darkhole and Heavy Storm aren't going to do a single thing because they've got a 2-mat Dingirsu on board. I don't know, I'll grab Practice for like later in the combo just because our breakers aren't going to do anything here. Then we can normal summon the Longinophilia and use its effect. That gets out one of the Fog Blades. Yeah, we can go Prime Fusion here to dodge, and then we can make Triff of Ethereum with their monster, right? Yeah, from either field. And it has to be 2 we control. So we can go Triphioverutum, and then we still get our search. I'm gonna add Offris as something to summon off of Predapractice if we need to. They send him. It's not a big deal. Here we can go Predaprimitive. Our send doesn't matter. Again, like I said, I really wish there was just one more good card to send to grave here, but I just haven't been able to find one. We're going to send Darling Tonia to hopefully summon it back later. We can go... They're all dark, aren't they? That's pretty gross. So we can just add the Super Poly itself. Go Super Poly, pitch the planning we don't need. But actually, pitching planning's great here. Make another Triphioverutum, sure, why not? That's going to trigger planning to pop their other back row. We can summon out the Lizard, use its effect to add regular Poly. So we can do just like normal combo here. We can activate Lizard to make this dark for the turn. Yeah, let's go... Well, we're off tuners, honestly, so we're not going to do the Synchro line. So I guess we can just go Predapractice, but we need to have a monster in hand to do that. Or like to do that valuably. Well, no, because we'll search one off the Predapractice itself. So we can grab, as I don't know, another Longinophilia, and that's going to trigger Offris, pitch that to summon. Lamida Sundew can use the opponent's cards. So we can go Longinophilia on Brigandine, then activate. What are we doing here? That's okay, though. We will make it work, because Amulet Melodies is a really, really good card one way or the other. Can we Violet Fangs them? Not really. Yeah, I don't think Violet Fangs is very good. It's just not going to do much in basically any situation. You know what we can do? We can go Pruning. We could, in theory, just summon back the other... we can summon Triphioverutum because they have a Predator counter. That's crazy. Very good. Very strong. And then we can summon out Biblis because they have a Predator counter. Very good and very strong. Amulet Melodies tribute Biblis to special summon. We have used all of these guys' effects already. We'll just grab a Lizard. Not a big deal, I don't think, here. We can go Daredevil using one of our Lizards and the guy. They don't have any more Predator counters, so we can't pop their back row. That's okay. Go Poly into... Could make Predapower to ensure lethal. What do we make Predapower with? The guy in defense position and the Amulet Melodies. Then we can go Pruning, summon back the Triphioverutum in attack, and that's a lot of damage. Okay. So, what do they get to do? Nothing here because they never put a Fog Blade in grave, so they're just dead. Okay, I mean, that was pretty commanding as just a going second, break the board and kill them sort of thing. There's a couple of one-ofs I'm not in love with. I'm going to go look to see if there's proper replacements. If not, I guess we'll just keep them in. But otherwise, let's go close it out. Alright, the only change I decided, I guess, is we should probably have a Squid Drosera in here, because there's plenty of ways to summon it out from the deck, or search it, and then we can use it as fusion material, and that is going to just put Predator counter on everything the opponent has. And that seems relatively important going second and breaking a board like we did there to just dump Predator counters everywhere. And in exchange, I took out the Thorn Fangs because it is a meme, and if we're actually in a winning position, it's because we've taken away all of the opponent's monsters. It's not gonna happen, I don't think. It's unfortunate, it's good, it's funny, I like it. It's not gonna happen. So, yeah. Since that's not going to happen, we just took it out, swapped it out for a Squid Drosera to, you know, throw Predator counters, which are much more just usable. I was kind of questioning the utility of the Predator counters, but things like Daredevil make it good. But yeah, just lots of utility there. The deck is, as far as closing thoughts go, it's fine. I I don't hate this deck, but there are a couple of points that are a little bit annoying to me. Like, we have so many things that send cards to the graveyard. We've got Offris sending a monster, we've got Drakiana sending. Why is Biblis the only good send? That would have been a priority for me, I think. Making new support for this deck is just like give them one more card that wants to be sent to the graveyard for some amount of value that is a plant specifically. So that's a little bit annoying. All of the one-ofs are a little bit annoying. The fact that Predapractice fusion locks you is a little annoying, but as you saw in that last practice game, we don't need to go through the Baltea line to do the combo and to kill the opponent. Predapractice is fine in that situation, and I think it does still deserve to be a 3 of. Maybe cut it to 2, and that's why that gets us down to 40 cards. Um, yeah, the deck's fine though. I like the fact that it's super poly, archetypal super poly, tribute the opponent's monsters off. It's a deck that's good going first and great going second, and I like that kind of deck where you're quite able to break a board in engine, but going first you can still set up something. It's not like crazy, but it's not Tenpai where if you go first you've probably lost unless you can find a floodgate. You can still set up negates and super poly on the opponent's turn and all that sorts of stuff. So it's a pretty fun one. I like it. I don't love it. I would place it. I don't know, where would I place this? I'd probably place this below or higher. Okay. Quick tier list. Quick tier list of every deck that I have done at Decksploration for so far. Number 1 is Shadow. I fucking love Shadow now, and I am very much looking forward to the support. Then probably for hire, because for hire was quite fun. It played differently. I like all the card draw and everything. Then probably this. Then Killer Tune. Then Assault Mode. And I think that's everyone I've done so far. I don't know. Let me go double check before we close it. Yeah, no, that's all of them. I hate Assault Mode. Killer Tune is annoying to me in a number of ways, and has only gotten more so with the new support. Obviously, it's good, but it's just not a deck that I particularly enjoy. And then this would be somewhere right in the middle, where it's got some neat gimmicks going on, but I don't see a lot of ways to, like, combo it with other archetypes, and there are some little bits and pieces that annoy me here and there, but it's fun enough. So that'll be it for this one, guys. I hope you liked it. I hope maybe you learned something. Maybe you didn't know what the new support did, and you were hoping I would explain it, and hopefully I explained it well enough. And I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.